The USC Trojans have regressed year over year over year under Lincoln Riley. But Vegas and myself and many others think that this time of suffering for USC, and believe me, last year was a time of suffering and mourning and gnashing of teeth, we believe it's probably going to at least get better. I'm not going to go as far to say yet, this early in the segment, that it will come to an end, but it sounds like things are going to get better. They lost 6 close games last year. All of their losses, all of them were close. And most of their wins were impactful, were big. They had some close wins. For example, UCLA, close win. Nebraska, close win. A&M, close win. LSU, close win. But they also had 2 blowout wins over Wisconsin and over Utah State. So in the net averages, they were more unlucky than lucky in their close games. And to start off with this is a statistic that I didn't know until a few weeks, or I forget if maybe it's a few months ago. Lincoln Riley, in his career, wins, just making sure everyone's listening here, Lincoln Riley wins 70% of his close games in his career. Before we resume this segment, please take a few seconds of your time to make sure you have liked the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and for any team podcasts and playlists linked in the description, and also comment your thoughts down below in the comment section and join my Discord server via the description. All of those things I just asked you to do are completely free, and they sign you up for things related to my channel, or they don't sign you up for anything. No cost to you, and all the benefit to you because we release daily college football content here on College Football with Sam. If you want to support the channel monetarily, sign up for a YouTube membership or check any other links in the description for my merchandise store and Patreon page. Thank you very much, and let's get back to the segment. Was a wizard in 2022 at USC for winning close games. Won some close games in 2023 when the defense was the worst in USC history. Was a wizard at winning close games with Oklahoma. He is going to have his best defense of his career outside of maybe the 2020 Oklahoma defense or maybe the 2017 Oklahoma defense. And unlike those Grinch defenses or those Oklahoma defenses, his unit will get better as the year goes on because of D'Anton Lynn. And Lincoln Riley last year also had his worst offense of his coaching career. So regression to the mean plus D'Anton Lynn and his track record says that things should get better for USC, and their preseason win total of 7.5 also says that in the regular season they should at least win 1 or 2 more games than they did last year. And that's with them only returning, 50% of their production and being rated outside the top 25 in preseason S&P+. I am so high on this team. So high on this team. They have a low floor, for sure. But I don't think their floor is as low as some believe. And their ceiling is infinitely higher than people think. This is a Lincoln Riley team with a roster that fulfills the blue chip ratio. That plus a high-level defensive staff and defensive coordinator and a quarterback that had some playing time and that Riley can further mentor and tutor for another preseason, that's huge. And their schedule, plus 570 to reach the college football playoff. My friend Baldfather Bets gave this out as a best bet for a parlay. And I don't do betting. I don't even give betting advice, but he wins money. If you follow what he does to a T, you will actually win money. So that's the only reason. I said that before. If I ever do betting, it will be because I know I can beat the books. And Baldfather Bets runs a good show. He can beat the books. We both agree that USC reaching the playoff is something that is more likely than plus 570 odds. And winning the Big Ten at plus 2,400, well, that's not nearly as good, I think, as the playoff odds, because I don't think USC has a Ohio State, Oregon, or Penn State level roster. If they get there and they have the right game, the right opponent, you can like that. And you can always hedge, too. If you bet them to win the Big Ten and they get to Indy, you're going to win money if you then, withdraw your money from that bet, or if you cash out. That's the proper term. But their schedule, I love it because, look, they get Missouri State at home week 1. Easy opener. Georgia Southern, Clay Helton versus USC. It's going to be an interesting game, but if USC's competent, that should be a pretty easy win in week 2. They get Purdue on the road week 3, but Purdue is transfer-ridden, and they have a new staff. They get Michigan State at home week 4, Illinois on the road week 5. By Illinois, On the road in week 5, we should have an idea of what USC is and who they are. They have a nice series of warm-up games that will tell us how good of a team they are, that can provide challenges but shouldn't provide more than maybe a loss. Week 6, they get a bye. They host Michigan. Michigan a few games into their October, early November stretch. They get Michigan off a bye at home. They then travel to Notre Dame on the road week 8. They get a bye week 9 before playing at Nebraska week 10, hosting Northwestern and Iowa in back-to-back games in week 11 and 12. They play at Oregon week 13, host UCLA week 14. That is a very manageable schedule. I mean, think about last year. They had to play in Las Vegas to open up the year, away from home. Then they got Utah State, then a bye. Then in week 4, they traveled to Michigan, came back to host Wisconsin, then traveled to Minnesota. Then at some point they traveled to Maryland. At some point they, I think, traveled then again to Washington, who's on their same time zone but several states north. They had a ton of travel miles. This year at Purdue, nowhere near the distance of traveling to Maryland, not even the distance of traveling to Michigan. Same with Illinois, same with Notre Dame, same with Nebraska. And Oregon is not the same distance as traveling to Washington. So the travel, the extreme travel is spaced out a little bit better, and the miles won't accumulate at the same rate. So that plus Lynn and Henderson and Doug Belk being in year 2 and Rob Ryan being added to the staff and a new strength and conditioning coach who, even though he was added after winter workouts, is going to be there for, summer and fall workouts. So they'll, I think, immediately get some benefit there because I do not think Benny Wiley was good at all. Don't think so. Did his best, respects to him, but was just not a fit. That's why Lincoln Riley moved on from him, even though he worked with him for a long, long time. I am optimistic with USC at most positions outside of offensive tackle, defensive tackle, and tight end. Looking at their roster, I have Jayden Maiava at quarterback on my All-Big Ten team, Waymon Jordan, Eli Sanders, and Brian Jackson at running back. It's one of the deeper running back rooms in the Big Ten. Those are on my All-American, All-Big Ten, not All-American. Do not take that. I do not have 3 USC running backs on my All-American team. I don't. Just a simple slip up there. I have John Ray Reed, incoming transfer from Syracuse, as an All-Big Ten player at center. I have DJ Wingfield as a All-Big Ten guard, and Elijah Page as an All-Big Ten tackle. I have Makai Lemon as the best wide receiver in the Big Ten, not named Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate. And I also have Jacoby Lane and Prince Strachan on my All-Big Ten teams. Larger teams than most, but that's because we're in the era of super conferences. I think most conferences need to add a 4th team, and then the honorable mention after that to get more good players represented for accolades, because it's not like we're doing participation trophies. My All-Big Ten teams have a quantity of 6 teams and typically 1 additional spot for every roster position, and I'm still not naming for most teams anywhere close to their starting roster. So you're not doing participation trophies by expanding that, you're just honoring more players, and I think that's deserved, especially as there are more teams in fewer conferences, which means the selectivity for all conference teams is even higher. I have Devin Tompkins on my All-Big Ten team at D-tackle, Cameron Fountain and Anthony Lucas at edge there. I have Eric Gentry as my best overall linebacker in the Big Ten. I have Kamari Ramsey and Bishop Fitzgerald on my All-Big Ten teams at safety, and then DJ Harvey at corner for USC. Getting into my prediction for USC, I have them going 11-1, 8-1 in Big Ten play. Tied for second in the Big Ten. They're tied with Michigan and one other team who I will get to when I do another live show and, clip up these segments here. And I have USC getting a home playoff game. I think their toughest game is going to be Oregon, and I think it's going to be their toughest game by a mile. Notre Dame and Michigan would be their next toughest, but I think that Oregon's kind of in a similar situation to USC. USC is the better DC. They have the better play caller, too, on offense with Riley versus Stein, but Oregon has better assistance. Oregon's more talented. Oregon is on the same track record in terms of starting position that USC was, but Lanning inherited a better situation and didn't make the same mistakes that Riley did and has done a better job. So Oregon's ahead of the curve by probably 2 years, if not 3, compared to USC, if I'm being honest. And they get them at home. Oregon does. They just do. And Oregon, I think, also has an extra game of rest. So that's big. And Oregon is also going to be better than USC at almost every position. It's kind of like the my new favorite analogy for like a bad matchup is the 2021 Georgia versus Michigan matchup, where Georgia was just better than Michigan at everything and they were more athletic. That's kind of what Oregon is over USC, with the exception of probably DB and starting number 1 overall linebacker, which I like USC more there and I like their DC more. But Oregon's deeper. Oregon is ahead of the curve compared to USC. It's just not a good game. But it's winnable. It's not a guaranteed loss. And I like USC against Michigan and Notre Dame. I will tell you that much. I love them in those spots. I think that USC nearly beating Notre Dame last year, despite Notre Dame winning 14 games and running for 1,000,000 yards against USC. What if USC can stop the run? What if they can play defense for 4 quarters? And Notre Dame no longer has a rushing quarterback. They have a pro-style quarterback. And USC probably will get better overall at DB compared to where they were last year. I think it's a good matchup for the Trojans, even though it's on the road. And they have a rest advantage over Notre Dame. They also have a rest edge over Michigan, and they get Michigan at home, traveling several time zones over, and I think Riley's a better coach than Sharon Moore. So I love this USC schedule, and I like the team too. I love the schedule more because I don't think this is a top 10 team. They'll be overranked, overrated in terms of final college football playoff ranking when this ends. They will be. But they're certainly a top 20, top 15 team that I think can win a lot of close games for sure. Some predictions for USC. A mild one is that Riley will have a winning record in 1-score games this year, which, if my memory serves me correctly, he has had a positive record or a 500 record in close games every year of his career except for last year. A medium prediction. We're going up in Scoville scale. Prediction 1 is mild, then we got a medium prediction, a hot prediction, a scorching prediction, a hellfire prediction. Medium is that Jayden Maiava will be a top 25 overall quarterback, leading a top 10 to 15 offense. I think that regression to the mean says that this USC offense will be certainly top 20, top 15, and last year it was probably top 30, top 35 caliber. It was truly the worst in Riley's career. A hot prediction that I have is that Eric Gentry will be the best linebacker in the Big Ten. It's not a hot take, but it is a prediction with certainly some boldness and some kick to it. I'm saying that Gentry will be better than Tony Roas, better than Sonny Styles, better than Arvell Reese, better than Bryce Betcher, better than Aiden Fisher, who was an honorable mention All-American for Indiana last year at linebacker. A scorching prediction is that D'Anton Lynn fields a top 15-20 defense, and honestly, it could be better than that. It's scorching not because I think it's unlikely, but because the public perception could not process this. It's similar with Penn State winning the Natty, which I think will happen, PSA. Or if USC, let's say 3 years from now, USC, in my mind and in others' minds who do a lot of research, it could be a preseason number 1 team. The public would say no, and the public would plug their nose, and the public would just reject that immediately because they can't process it. They can't see it happening because it hasn't happened in a long time or hasn't been done before. And the public's like that. That is USC in defense. They did not have good defenses under Helton for the most part. They have an awful defenses so far under Lincoln Riley. They're going to be top 15 or top 20 this year. And it's not necessarily because they have a top 15 defensive roster. I don't think they quite have that yet, but it's a much better defensive roster than what they had last year, and Lynn's a top 5 defensive coordinator. So they're going to punch above their weight class in a major way defensively. And last, but certainly not least, this is the boldest prediction, is that USC will go from 6-6 to 11-1, and they will host a playoff game, which means implicitly I'm almost predicting them to win 12 games. Because most teams will win their home playoff game. Most will. I'm not exactly certain who I think they're hosting yet, but I have some ideas, and I think that USC would beat most of the teams who they would host in this hypothetical scenario that I am painting and predicting for you. I believe in Lincoln Riley, and I believe in USC with all the hires they've made. The recruiting makes me believe too, because talent does produce results if you have competent coaching, and USC has that. But more than the recruiting, if USC was just recruiting at a top 15, top 10 level, I would believe in them. Maybe not as much long-term in terms of being a national title contender, which I think they will eventually be, but I'd believe in them as a Big Ten contender, playoff contender, maybe dark horse title contender in the next few years, just based off their recent coaching hires. This is going to be a well-coached team. They're going to do a lot better in close games, and they're going to play sound defense, and they're going to play wicked offense as per usual under Lincoln Riley. Thank you for watching College Football with Sam. Make sure that you've liked the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and team playlists and podcasts in the description, join the free Discord server where we talk college football 24/7, and have commented your thoughts down below. Check out the description for any ways you can support the channel monetarily. Everything else I've asked you to do is completely free, and your support means the world to me. We're trying to become the next big thing on college football YouTube. 6-figure subscribers, maybe 1 million one day. I think we can do that. And also check out any videos or playlists, anything in these columns right here, where there will be videos and playlists. Yeah, you get the point. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.